right, and still good morning and welcome to MG65 Live. My name is Knut, and again, just a big thank you to the sponsors and to the organizers of this lovely event, and super excited still to be here and that I was able to deliver the total of 3 sessions. That was really good, so thank you for selecting me. And this is me still, Knut, and yeah, still feel free to reach out to me. If you cannot find me by my name, I would be surprised. There's nobody else with my name, so feel free to just Google my name to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn or other social platforms if you have questions and follow-up questions after these sessions today. The session that we are going to have right now is all you need to know about webinars in Teams. Of course, this one right now is a live event, which is something different than a webinar in Teams. So there are reasons behind why you have a live event. For instance, it's then easy to stream it live to different type of platforms. So that is, of course, one of the big reasons why you want to do a live event, because then you get all that streaming capabilities automatically. And of course, it's a little bit different way to do it, because you will have some producers that is actually making people live and so on. And if you're a speaker, you can join before actually you are going live. So there are a few good reasons behind actually doing conferences as a live event. So a little bit about my company again. So I work for a company called Pressure Fishbowl, which is a Swedish company that has an intranet in the box product on top of M365. So if you have any questions around that, feel free to drop me an email. The product is amazing. It has won a lot of awards, and it's a really fast product that enhances your experience, and it's a really good for frontline workers scenarios, for instance. But the goal for today's session is to learn how to set up webinars in Microsoft Teams, and we should look into how you can customize your registration page, and we will look into some different type of options when it comes to streaming also a webinar into different types of streaming platforms. So as people that knows me, they know that I really don't like slides, so I will just jump out of my slides and I will go and show you this live instead. It's much better. So yeah, here we had an issue, but that's okay. I'm in my right tenant. So if I go to my calendar view here inside of Microsoft Teams, this is something that is familiar to everyone. I think pretty much all people now has created some webinars from within here, or like some normal meetings at least. So you see that here in the top right corner, that's where you will see the new meeting button. So this is something we have done more or less every one of us, a new Teams meeting. And you see that there are some possibilities here on the top. So we have some response options. We can do some registration options, even if it's a normal meeting, and we can add it to a channel if we want to do that. So I can put it here in the general channel. And then I can click send. I can invite myself to it as well. Just like that. Yeah, that's always funny when I cannot find myself. But that's okay. We can do my admin user. Send. So now we see that we have creating a new meeting here. But if you pay really close attention, you will see that here next to the button I just clicked, there's an arrow, a down arrow. So from this down arrow, you will see that there are some few other options. In this one, actually, right now, I didn't get the live event option, because usually you have a live event as well. But right now, I just got the webinar. So let's just wait for a little bit later. I will see if I can also schedule a live one. But let's now do the webinar one first. So you see here that there are some options when it comes to the webinar. And there's also some settings here. So this one is actually really new, the button here on the right corner. And before it was not there. So you can see here who can register, everyone. If it should be like for public, for people to register, who can bypass the lobby. So that's a configuration you can do. You can say also always let callers bypass the lobby. you can announce when callers join or leave. And you can also go in and specify who can actually go in and present as a presenter. You can also put on the recording automatically. And you can also put the option if you should have a meeting chat on or off. So, and what's mean with in meeting only means that it's only going to be able to add questions or messages in the chat during the webinar. So when the webinar is running still, you can go in and add comments. When the webinar is ending, there will be no more possibilities to add comments. So that's how it is. And we can also enable the Q&A. So we can have a Q&A section. And you see that there's more options as well that you can go in here and put. So then you get like a nice pop-up when it comes to that. Allow reactions, as you can see, which we didn't have here. Allow cameras for attendees. Allow microphone for attendees. So we have all these kind of settings to make it a smooth experience for everyone as possible when it comes to joining and being part of the webinar, because of course it's really interfering with the speaker if somebody of the attendees are on mute and then suddenly start to talk without wanting to do that. So that's where it's always nice to have all these settings from the beginning. So, but as you can see here on the top, want your attendees to register to the webinar, then you can go and send them a link to the registration form. And this is one of the reasons why you want to look into maybe having a webinar instead of a live event, because you can get the registration form for it. So here I will just type M365 live conference presenter. I will type in myself. So I think this one is the right one, hopefully. Let's see. No, that's another one, but okay, I can add this one as well, but let's try to see if I can add mine here. For some reason it doesn't want to work now. Okay, so it worked if I just click Control K. So that's a tip for you guys to know. So I got it in here, which is great. We can also add optional presenters. So those are not the required ones. So here we can add, for instance, Peter. Oh, I didn't have Peter. Okay, I'll add my son. Let's see. Okay, didn't have so many test users here, so I can add one of my other emails then, like this. So that's fine. Then here we have the time and the day of the event, and we can add the location if we need to have a meeting room, for instance, and then we can add in some details for the meeting. So hello and welcome to M365 Live Conference. We run this event as a webinar this time. That's it. Then let's go to the registration form page. So right now I just clicked that registration form page, and as you could have seen from here, I added actually 3 speakers. So in some ways, it would have been nice if those speakers popped up here, but that doesn't happen. And we can also go and do one other thing that is pretty cool. So if I'll go here and I will change the date here, let's just close it and we will create a new one, because let's just change the time slot for 5 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. And let's just add 1 speaker this time. So I will just add my admin user. So you see 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and M365 live event, just like that in this case. And, sorry, my bad, I did a normal meeting. That's what we get again from the demos. So let's do a webinar. So we have here the time at 5 to 5, let's do it to 6. So it's a 1 hour M365 live conference. Hopefully this is the last time I need to do it. I put in myself here. And then we can say, hello, everyone. This is a great webinar live event, just like that. Then let's go into the view registration form again. You remember that here, first of all, I had a speaker selected. I also put it in from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you look here, it's from 3:30 to 4. So even it doesn't catch whatever you put in here when you're changing it. So that's something you need to be aware of, that these two forms are not very much connected. It even didn't take my title, as you can see from here. So I need to actually copy paste the title here. I have to make sure that I select the same time as in the other one. If not, people will join at the wrong time and we are not ready for them. So just like that. And also hello to M365 live conference. I need to add the text there as well. Then I need to go and add the speaker. So I need to add myself, and I need to add like, hey, he is an amazing speaker. Yeah, and here is the registration form. Another thing we can do is that we can upload an image, and pay attention to here that the kind of the preference size here is 918 pixels on 120 pixels. So it's a pretty small image. So if I will go here and we will go and let's just do this one, you will see that here this one is actually quite big, so it's kind of difficult to select which one that I want to have here. So I need to select the kind of the cropping that I want to use. Then by default, it has 3 fields. If I want to add a few more, because typically organization could be nice to know, and I can add it as a required. We can also go and add custom fields. We can have a custom input or a custom choice field. So for instance, we can ask the attendees a question before they even join. Do you use M365? And we can have then the choices yes, and we can have no. So if then the attendee is replying to this when they register, we will already know a lot of things from them. We can also add a field here which is an input field, or we can do it as a question field as well, like an option field, because in some ways, let's just do that, because if we add it as a custom question with a choice, we can always write like a disclaimer to GDPR. GDPR disclaimer accept. And they can do the same, yes and no. Of course, not every country is as strict as some of the European countries when it comes to GDPR, but it's great to have it here anyways. So now I have created my registration form. I click save. So now I have it, and I will copy the registration link. And last time I did this, it didn't work immediately because it takes a little bit of time to set up the backend. And then I will go and click it here and see if it's ready. Yeah, because right now it asks me to log in, which it should not do. So you just need to give it a few seconds, and then this form will be ready for us to actually start to use and to invite people into it. Going back, as you saw, we had the options going here, and then we have also the possibility to select the time zone and all that kind of things. So let's just click send, because when we do send, there will be a few other options available here. And you see that this has a small different icon down here that shows that this is a webinar and not a normal Teams meeting. If I go in to this one, let's just open it up. You see that we have some already predefined tabs on the meeting. So for instance, we can still go and customize it, and we can still go and customize the options as well. But we have now the Teams meeting joining capabilities are attached here to this one. But we can go and look at attendance. So attendance is also something we get from the webinar. So we can see who that actually registered. We can see who that is actually joined. And there's a lot of metrics we can get in there if the page has finished to load, because right now it loads really slow. But let's do Q&A in the meantime. So here you see that we can go in and ask some questions. So this one is really nice, and you see it looks a little bit like Yammer actually, how everything looks like in Yammer. And you can also moderate attendees' conversations. So it means that people, you can actually go in and delete posts from other people if somebody writes something stupid there, basically. But you also have a big plus here on the top of my screen. So I can also click this big plus. And within here, it is actually possible to go and add other apps to be part of my meeting as well. And you see there's pretty much apps here. So one that you might want to consider to use alongside with the Q&A could be a poll, because then you can create small polls. You can do the third-party one called Polly, which has somewhat a similar effect as this one. We have YouTube even here, but this is like different type of apps you can add to your team, basically. What's your, Teams webinar. We can also go to manage apps, as you can see here, and then you see what's already added into it. And as I mentioned to you, there's also a few options when it comes to actually going and promoting this one. So all right, so I've been talking for long, but that's fine. I'll just continue, so hopefully that is fine. So if you go in here, we can go to look at more apps because there are actually an app from Microsoft that could be interesting to try to use here if it works. I have tried to do this multiple times and I still didn't manage to make it work, but we have an app coming in here that should be interesting to actually go and see if we will get to work today. But before I do that, I will show you a couple of more slides. So yeah, so this is just to show you how if you want to look at this afterwards, and of course when you do a webinar, you can also do it with kind of presenter mode, you know, so you can do like PowerPoint Live. I haven't got the feeling and touch of PowerPoint Live yet, so I didn't get used to it, but I'm pretty sure that there are people that is actually doing really amazing sessions with PowerPoint Live. We can do forms as well, and then there are some few things coming soon. I haven't seen this LinkedIn Live app in my Teams environment anytime at all, but there are a few other people that has been posting about this in social media and in their blogs. So I'm excited to see if this one is coming or not, because there's a lot of people that have started to do LinkedIn Live events, you know, so we are streaming live on LinkedIn, and with this it would be actually really nice to go in and do the same as session that we are doing right now and just automatically stream it as a LinkedIn Live event as well. But I don't have this one in my environment, and I will show you later that it's not there. But if this one is coming, that will be really, really cool, because then that opens a lot of options and opportunities for live streaming directly into LinkedIn Live. But there is another one that is out that is called custom streaming, and this one is in preview. And this one is the one that I mentioned to you guys that I have tried it in multiple tenants. I tried it over and over again, and it just doesn't want to work in my environment, even if I have followed all the step-by-step guides that is out there to make it work. So I'm still looking for someone to come to me and say, hey, Knut, I managed to get this work. And then I'll be really excited if someone will be able to tell me that, because I think this is also a really cool, awesome feature. So let's go and take a look at custom streaming app in preview and see if we are more lucky today and that this one will work. So let's just search for custom. And you see here, we have it, custom streaming in the preview, and we have to add it to a meeting. And that's why first of all, I created the meeting, and then I can add it later on into that meeting that I have. And you see now, it finds automatically the M365 live conference because it's the only webinar that I have configured. So now we are trying to set this up, and it's going to be added as a tab up here if everything works. And it looks that everything works. Custom streaming is your tool to stream out Teams meetings to public platforms powered by RTMP, which is the technology in the back. So now everybody should think, hey, this looks great, but sorry to disappoint, it might not work still, because I have seen this multiple times before and I got excited. So now I'm not excited yet. So let's see if I will become excited. And no, not today either. And the funny part is it's written try again, but then it disappears, you know? So it was there for a few seconds and then whoops, and then it's gone. So that is something really, really weird. But now you see that I'm inside of the chat of my meeting. And this is also really one thing that is really nice about the webinar, that you can actually have pre-populated messages to your attendees before they are joining. So that is also really, really nice as well. So you see we have the files here, so we can actually pre-share some files. So if I wanted to share the presentation, I could have done that, and it will be already available for people to download. We can have the attendance. So this was the one that I tried to show you before. So here, if somebody has viewed the registration page, I will get a number one here. If somebody registered, it will be up here. If someone canceled their registration, they will be here. And the same for participation. So if somebody then opened and click join here, it will pop up here under the participations. You can also download it to kind of manipulate this one more in Power Apps or Power BI or whatever we want to do with this one later on. We could put in meeting notes if that's something you want to do. So we can take notes here, which is great. If that's something you want to do, you can also go and use the whiteboard. So there are all this kind of functionality that you can also pre-populate even before the webinar goes live. And again, there's an ocean of different type of third-party apps that you can also add into a meeting, or either if it's a webinar or a normal meeting. So for instance, we could go and add forms in here, which could be nice, because then you can also have some forms, or polls, as it's also called in this case. So, and here there are some pre-created polls. So sometimes you might want to use the Q&A, but other times it's actually better just to use the poll. So we can go here to collect the feedback poll. So we can then say oral has satisfied was you with the meeting. And then you can save this one here. And now you see that this is in the draft. I can then click launch, and now it will be live. So now it will be actually a live part of the meeting, which is really great. So I can see something like this, and then you see exactly what was the respondents of all people that responded to this one. So I really like that kind of functionality and feature. If we click into the three dots, you see that we're also into that edit the webinar screen, as you can see here. Here you can go and cancel it. We can put in those meeting options again, as we was looking at before. So you see that now we get a different screen. The one that we saw before when we're creating it was actually more streamlined, since it popped up down here, then redirecting you to another page, basically. And then, of course, it's all about just joining, and then everything will be great and ready to go. So that is good. That gives us a lot of possibilities when we are running those live events. Now, as you noticed, I wasn't able to get that app in here that I wanted. So if I click here and I want to go and check what happened with that one, or I want to remove it since it kind of didn't work, I will go to the plus button here, and then I will go to manage apps. Because you see here, it's actually being configured, but it's just didn't work. So for me, I have no idea now that if this one works or not, because I haven't been able to configure those RTMP links, so didn't get those. So it simply doesn't work. So that is something that I just need to remove, basically. So then I will just go in here and delete it for the time being. But at least you know the process and how that is actually hopefully going to work very, very soon. It's in the preview, so we need to be aware of that. Then There's a few other things that you should be aware of when you're running webinars. So let me just share my screen PowerPoint again. So this one we saw already. So, and I showed you how you should app this. But then the big question is, what is being created when you're creating a webinar? Because this is something that you should be really aware of, that when you are creating a webinar inside of Microsoft Teams, there's a lot of back-end Microsoft lists being created for you. So there is actually 3 Microsoft lists that's going to be created for each and every webinar that you are creating. So imagine that you're having one webinar a month, you will have like then 12 times one list, 12 times the other, and 12 times the third. So you're going to have like 36 lists suddenly in your list section inside of Microsoft Lists. So it can be kind of messy, basically. The funny part is if you delete the event, the lists are not going to be deleted. They're still going to be there, at least for the time being. So there is a user voice actually out around this to change it or fix it, or people don't like that all those lists are being created. But again, that's just something we need to look into. It is there. So let's just jump and take a look at it before we go and look at how to avoid it, basically. So I'm now in my webinar here still. There's actually one more app that I didn't mention in the previous session that is actually pretty cool, and that is Microsoft Lists. So let's just add it to my general sales here. So yeah. So now we have the list app here, and then I can add an existing list or I can create the list. So that's just why I wanted to show you this one. But to see all the lists, we need to go out of Microsoft Teams, and let's just go into office.com. So I'll just type office.com here, and now we are in the starting page in some ways in M365. That's what Microsoft wants this to be, at least. So we see here, first of all, in the quick access, there's a lot of lists because I have recently opened them. So of course I don't want them to be here. So then of course I want to hide them, for instance. But if you go to apps here, and we can either search or we can just look for it. But typically for me, I just feel it's faster to just click lists here, and I'll find my lists. So here you see the recent ones. But if you go and look at my lists, then you will see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the same list. So they all start with event, and then they have a GUID in the back. And then to find out which one is actually belonging to the one that we just created, we just need to go in and look at them. So, and then you will be able to find it. So this one is not the one for today. But again, you see here that we can actually go in and we can make modifications inside the list here. I really don't recommend that because that can create a lot of issues, because you see all the different kind of stuff that are stored in here. Because of course, always when you do forms, whatever, it needs to be stored somewhere. It's just a little bit messy that it's stored inside of your personal list, basically. So then we have the questionnaire, and then we have also the speaker list. So for instance, in here, if we go and open one of them, you will see here Knut is a totally amazing speaker and Peter Parker is good in spider webs from a previous one I was doing. So you have all those things here included as well. But again, not the best place to go and do it, basically. Don't make changes here. It will cause you a lot of headaches. So going back to the list, you see again that we have a lot of different list items here, basically. So that is just something you need to be aware of, that they are here, and they're going to be populated, 3 of them for each and every time you are creating a webinar inside of Microsoft Teams. But what can we do to avoid this? Currently, there's not that many alternatives for that, because they are there, whether we like it or not, and they are supporting lists to have a webinar. So it's kind of something we need to figure out how we will do with that. So my suggestion will be to either use a service account for them, because if you do a service account, they will not pop up in your list. It will pop up in the list of that service account. So it will be kind of a lot cleaner than what it will be inside of your own user, so to say. And that's kind of been the best practice for many years, to create different type of service accounts. So when you should create a webinar, then just go in and create it from the service account and instead of your own personal account, and then you should be fine. Other alternative is to have a Power Automate to clean up the list, because as I showed you, if you go into the attendee into the attendee tab, you can download the attendee report. So in some ways, when you have downloaded the attendee report, you don't need that webinar maybe for some historical reasons to be in your calendar no more. So you could some ways have had the Power Automate that cleaned up all of the webinars the day after they have been kind of created, or the day after you run them, or something like that, or a week after, or 3 months after. You have a Power Automate that triggers, that cleans up these lists. But again, wouldn't it be better to just have a service account for the time being, because then you don't need to worry about deleting these kind of things, because maybe if somewhere down the line you would actually know what webinars you run, then you want to have it for statistic purposes or some other reasons. So that's just something to think about, basically. But to be able to kind of use the live streaming, like that custom preview app that I showed you, you need to run a few PowerShell commandlets to do that. So they are listed here, and I see we have a couple of more minutes, so I can actually show you how to do that. So we just need to open PowerShell, and we need to do that in an administrator mode, just as this. So I have my PowerShell here. I just hate to be in this folder, so just be here. So then we need to do connect MS Teams, wasn't it? I will always forget this. So Microsoft Teams, like this. Just have to check if it's correct. And I don't have any spelling errors. Of course, I had spelling errors, so let's just copy it, make it easier. Spelling errors is always funny, so let's do like this instead. So now it asks us to sign in to our Microsoft Teams, and afterwards we can run those other commandlets. So I just sign in with my account over here, and then let's just go and test the other one. So now you see that I'm signed in. I just clean it up because I don't like to have red things on my screen. And then we have the Get CS Teams meeting. And we have here broadcast policies, and then we have just meeting policies. So if I click Get on this one, you will see that there's a lot of things that you can actually configure with PowerShell as well. But the one that you have here is that live streaming mode is disabled. So that could actually be the reason why it didn't work today. Maybe I forgot to enable it since last time I ran this session. So let's just do like this, set actually let's do get first and run an identity global, because then it will get the global identity. And here you will see that live streaming mode is enabled. But let's for fun just set the live streaming mode with the same, like this. It's the only difference is get and set, and then we can do live streaming mode, and we just need to do enabled, like this, and then it will be enabled. So there's different levels of this. It could be global, it could be just based on the meeting itself. So you can kind of do it in different levels, that live streaming enablement. So that is something that you can play around with and test for yourself to see if it will make some changes for you guys. But I have tried it all and I didn't get it to work in my environments yet, but I will be extremely happy to hear if somebody else has been able to make it work. So that would be great to get to know. So yeah, then let's take a couple of more slides and then we are finished for today. So this is a link that will give you all the details for doing that. And also here's some other resources because first of all, this guy, Graham Walsh, he is the guy that was actually posting about that LinkedIn Live. I haven't seen this anywhere, so but at least he got it in his environment, and that was already back in January. So that could be kind of interesting. And you see the same PowerShell commandlets needs to be run here. So you see here, it might not be in attendance yet. According to this one, it should be complete in mid-February, but it is actually not, because if I will go in to my environment and I will go here, I will not find LinkedIn at all. But it might be that because my tenant is in Europe, so maybe it's something in the North American environment, or the tenants in US-based tenants, maybe it will work. I am not too sure about that. So at least that's something you need to take a look at. Secondly, there's another platform called Open Broadcaster Software that installed like a small app on your computer that will actually stream it directly from your computer instead. And there's a good guy as well here, another MVP, Steve Goodman, that has actually written back in 2021 a guide to how you can do that. So even with a YouTube video to show how to do it, because you need to go in and change some meeting policies and to enable NDI streaming. So for instance, if you go back to here, to do that, you see that we have, as part of my PowerShell that I took out here, the get CS Teams meeting policies, you will see that here I had that allow NDI streaming is false. So we could go in here and also do like allow NDI streaming to enable if you don't want to do it from there. But you see now it should be not enable, it should be a true. Sorry about that. And probably you want to have it in the, yeah, whatever. I can check that out, but it needs to be a Boolean. So we need just to make it properly formatted. Or you can go and do it inside of the meeting policy settings of your Teams admin interface instead, if you don't want to do it with those PowerShell. And then you just need to install the OBS software and the plugin into, for instance, my computer, if I should be the producer, and then you'll be able to actually live stream without having to do that meeting add-in from Teams that wasn't working in my particular case right now. So yeah, so that was actually what I wanted to show you today. Thank you everyone, and feel free to reach out to me on social media if you have any questions. And now I will give you a couple of minutes time before the next speaker will come and present another interesting topic for you all. So thank you so much for the organizer for having me, and thank you for the attendees for joining. And thank you to all the sponsors for your contributions. And I wish everyone a continuous great day, and thank you so much.